Folks, I have another preview for you. I told you I'm going to keep with this because the preview, I think, makes things a little bit easier from a sustainability perspective in terms of proper use of time, both for me and for you. So I hope that this is all appreciated from the listener base. But I have another preview for you. And the only reason I'm doing this preview now, just to put it in perspective, is because it's getting a lot of attention, mostly social media, but also because this is starting to become a thing. And I had recently covered another token that claimed it was going to be the, quote, S&P 500 of cryptocurrency. And because this token I'm going to be previewing is building something that I think is closer to that moniker, getting ahead of the curve, it felt like I needed to at least talk about it so that it didn't go under the radar, so you at least knew I took a look at it, if nothing else. There's been chatter about React. And React, it actually stands for something. Rebase Aggregator Capital. Site is react.ac. This project, it's not just there's a token, but it's more than just a single token. It's a project. And what they're trying to do in simple form from their site and from their material is essentially take all of the different Rebase funds. So when we take Rebase funds, we're referring to Titano, we're referring to Sphere Finance, we're referring to Libero, we're referring to Seifu, Aurora, I would assume Ouroboros has to be in that, and some other ones. And centralizing them such that the investment in the React token would yield rewards based on the profitability of all the other ones. What I suspect is happening, and no, I don't have evidence, I'm going off of basic common sense of what I see in the chart movements. What I suspect is happening is that they have managed to get ahead of what Sphere Finance was trying to do, but isolate it specifically to Rebase tokens. That being that it would be an index for all these different Rebase type tokens that you would allow, from owning the token, the React token, the ability to benefit from the price movements of all of them collectively. Now, it appears, I have no evidence, it appears that people are then FOMO selling pretty much all of these different separate funds, and they're just buying into, FOMOing into, or YOLOing into in some cases, the React token because they believe it's the best of all worlds, right? If you have $1,000 in just Titano, well, why would I do that when I could take the $1,000, put it in this React, and then benefit from all of the different funds without having to invest in them separately? The net result is that we see the graphs are shifting pretty much to the red across the board, with the exception of Seifu, and that's only because Seifu's build strategy throws money at the problem to try to keep the price from going too low, but it's also being affected. I looked at this, and here's my summary thoughts on this guy. First of all, it's using the garbage Git book, which pisses me off. You know how I feel about that one. It's on the Avalanche chain, and Avalanche is increasing in popularity. Okay, well, I like that it's on the Avalanche chain because it's insulated from a lot of the disruption that's affecting Binance and Ethereum. I don't like it's a garbage Git book, which tells me the thought process behind the developers of this thing. I like that it's a token that you can own and then benefit from multiple sub-projects. I question they claim that it's a sustainable deal. They claim that because of the way they have the treasury concept and all this stuff, and the way that they're doing the reflections, and they reflect it to AVAX, which is the native gas token, that it's supposed to help the project. I question the sustainability of this over time. That doesn't mean that it won't work. It could very well work. Just on a surface view, I question that they're going to be able to sustain this long term because you're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul. I actually was reading that Wikipedia, they were getting rid of crypto donations because their liberal people in there don't like cryptocurrency and don't believe in it, and they don't want to, quote, support it. And one of the people they interviewed said, quote, crypto's nothing but a big Ponzi scheme. Now, this structure, if you look at it, and I challenge you to do so, appears to validate that argument because essentially it is somewhat of a Ponzi because you're taking, and it's not their fault. It's not the project's fault. I'm saying that it just exacerbates the problem because if I'm right that people are simply gutting their Titano and Seifu and Libero and whatever else and they're just dumping it into this one, that's the bona fide definition of a Ponzi scheme. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then other people suffer because you could have people in each of those projects holding in good faith, and then these presumably whales, based on the price movement, are just shifting their money over here and hurting everybody else. Now, if the way this is built in terms of the alleged yield farming that they're doing is not benefiting those bottom line projects, I would be hesitant to even recommend it. Because if you're going to do something like this, it should somehow benefit the lower level projects. The price movement I'm seeing does not seem to confirm that they are actually benefiting the low level projects. It's just for the people that buy into this token, and conversely, the AVAX gas token. The roadmap, I think, is garbage because everything's a Q2, and then they talk about games, but there's no specificity of what it's doing. They talk about an ecosystem without defining what the heck that is. They're all fluffy statements made. I have big concerns about social media because, of course, they push you to garbage telescam. They're reasonably active on Twitter, but I don't see a Medium, at least I can't see one. I don't see a Reddit, and they do have a Discord, but it looks like most of their push is on the garbage telescam. So garbage Gitbook, garbage telescam, garbage roadmap, and it appears as though it's robbing Peter to pay Paul in what it's doing, as opposed to being supportive of the lower levels like a multiverse capital, for example. That's my high-level thoughts on this one, react.ac. I encourage you to take a look at it. I don't see scam. It just feels like it's a greed pull where we're just taking money from other projects and rushing it over here. I would say also that there's no names or faces, and I'm going to respond. I got a comment on a different project. The reason that this needs to be on the website is so that you're not assuming the crypto bubble. Somebody responded, and I believe it wasn't Everrise, it was a different project, where they criticized the fact that I called out this stuff's not on the website, and they said, well, this one runs this Olympus deep. And it's like, you got to understand, outside the crypto bubble, nobody gives a crap about what they run outside of it. You need it on your website because people that are looking for that are not in the crypto bubble. So don't assume that they know what you're talking about, and no, they shouldn't have to go to your garbage telescam, and no, they shouldn't have to go to your AMAs. It needs to be on your website. I will hold Rebase Aggregator Capital to the same standard. I need to see your face, your name, and ideally a LinkedIn on your website, in addition to ideally your white paper as a PDF, so I can hold you accountable, and ideally some explanation, because it looks like you are robbing Peter to pay Paul instead of complementing those low-level projects. React.ac, take a look and see if it makes sense for you. I will do a follow-on review. We're doing a little bit of a bear activity. There's some sell-offs happening in the Binance Smart Chain. Once we're past that, I'm happy to revisit it, take a look at it. I also would like to see if they're going to take some of those suggestions to heart, and I'll probably do a follow-on, probably if not next week, then the week following, just to make sure I'm giving them a fair chance to address some of these lingering concerns.